Electrofire Book 2 Hidden Chains Chapter 28.
The commander stood there, eyeing me. His left eye was hazel brown, the other was a green color, which made him seem more intimidating. He seemed more annoyed than anything, probably noticed I was crying. I hated crying in front of others. I hated it more crying in front of him. He probably thinks he's won. Technically he had. He captured me and also shipped my friend out. I just looked away from him.
I am not going to kill you.
He spoke. I heard a gun being loaded just then after he said that. My ears lowered a bit. I wasn't sure if I trusted what he said, but what he said next was haunting.
You don't deserve that kind of mercy.
His voice sounded cold and emotionless. I knew he hated me. I thought he was going to shoot me right then and there, but no. I didn't look over, but I could sense he lowered his weapon. In return, I lowered my defenses a bit. He must have noticed. I glanced back at him, but no movement came from the man. I wondered what he wanted from me if it wasn't to kill me. Then why was he here? Was he just going to keep me here in isolation, or maybe as his own experiment? What did he mean about not killing me and that I didn't deserve that kind of mercy? I wondered for a while, but there I got overthinking again. The commander just stood there staring at me. I didn't move. I felt paralyzed as he looked me over. My ears drew back a bit, but then I glanced at my wrists. That's when I realized the inhibitor rings were gone. I wouldn't be able to use very much of my energy or throw any spears or blasts, not even teleport. I could already feel the energy being drained from me, but I froze as I realized who had my rings. I could see them in the commander's other hand, his left one. I'd made no sudden movement, afraid for my life at the time, not knowing if I was going to die or just pass out. But something inside me told me that isolation, again, wasn't his plan, but something else. I was at my lowest point. The only friend in my life was gone, and I felt I couldn't do anything about it. The one person I wanted to protect, and he had been shipped out to Robotnik. I was beaten. It felt like I had nothing left to fight for. This was exactly how I felt after losing Maria. It's how Gun won the first time. But seems they've won again. Why do I have to lose a friend all over again to this agency? I clenched my left hand into a fist. Something seemed off, like I was missing something. But I didn't look, staring at the commander blankly, feeling helpless once again as I remembered crashing to the ground that day. In that cryonic. Surrounded. I couldn't escape. I ended up passing out due to the impact. All I ever wanted was to live my own life instead of following what my creator had planned for me as a failure. I just wanted to not live like this. I remembered why I had decided to make the choice I had before. I live to regret it now, but I'm starting not to after winding back here. The very thing I didn't want to happen. This was my only reason as to why I decided not to be saved by Sonic back there. Also, knowing Gun, they'd cover up that incident and say it was my fault that the creature was released. Yes, I was part of the reason for it, but I wasn't the one who awoken it. My eyes shifted a bit as I looked at the commander, awaiting for whatever was to come for me. Accepting my fate, having nowhere else to go, I couldn't go back to Tom and Maddie, not without Sonic.
I've been told you were a weapon, capable of destroying the world in a single blow. Some ultimate weapon you've turned out to be. You aren't even worthy of the title you've been given.
The commander spoke mockingly as he circled around me, as I felt that last part was true. I had known that for quite some time, ever since I had been seen as a failed experiment. An ultimate life form is deemed as a perfect being, but I am far from that. My creator saw through it, through most stuff, though most stuff didn't affect me like it would others, put under so many experiments. Sonic didn't see everything, but enough on that one disc that terrified him. I stayed there, signed to the wall behind me, knees against my chest, arms wrapped around them. I still said nothing. I didn't even try to defend myself at all. I knew that everything he said was true, but I'll admit it still hurt. My energy was draining quickly, but I made no attempt at attacking. I guess he took my rings off when I was unconscious as a precaution. Energy draining fast at the moment, eventually, I'd black out. This time, it could be my last. I was more powerful with the rings off, but I made no moves to attack. Sure, this guy figured I was dangerous to be around, but I didn't want to prove his point to be true. It wasn't like I was unstable. Then I saw movement behind the commander out of the corner of my eye. Or Brad couldn't have poked his head into the room from the doorway before disappearing. I said nothing. Maybe I was imagining it. There's no way someone other than Sonic would try and break me out of this place. The commander looked back behind him, but didn't see anything. He just looked back at me.
Trying to trick me, huh?
I didn't reply to his question. I thought about curling up in a ball, but I figured that's what this guy wanted from the ultimate life form. He wanted me to be afraid, and I wasn't going to give him that satisfaction. Sure, I was actually afraid. I made no moves to even get away from the back wall, stuck in this room like a prison sentence. By the way the man looked at me, it didn't seem like I was going to stay in this spot for long. My ears gave a slight twitch as he drew his weapon again, but he didn't aim it towards me. He aimed it behind him, to the doorway.
Show yourself.
He called out, but nothing showed up in front of him.
I'll shoot him if you don't appear.
He threatened. Nothing appeared again. He then aimed the weapon towards me.
Sonic's point of view.
The three of us were near the doorway. None of the agents walked past. This area was secluded for now. Only the commander was there. Knuckles took a peek at one point before turning back to me and Amy.
He's in there.
Knuckles whispered loudly not to draw any attention, but then a minute later, the three of us heard the commander shout.
I'll shoot him if you don't appear.
That's when I made my way to the doorway, only to be stopped by Knuckles and Amy. They grabbed me by an arm and a leg, pulling me back toward him.
It's a trick, I think.
Knuckles said, I saw this in action movies before. They let me go. After that, I took a small peek into the room. I could see a gun was pointed towards something. I saw something black and red, but hard to make out what it was. But I knew it had to be Shadow. The room I could see wasn't exactly a room at all. It was more of a wooden crate from what I could see. It only had a door. Inside was bigger than the outside. The commander was facing away from the doorway. I then turned back to them. Doesn't seem like a trick to me, I whispered before running in. Wait, don't hurt him! I yelled from behind the commander, Knuckles and Amy running in after me, but then something caught Amy's attention. Something shiny on the table. She ran over to it just as the commander turned around. Knuckles stayed beside me once we were a few feet away from the commander.
Amy's point of view.
As I made my way to the table, I saw something gold on it. Upon closer inspection, they appeared to be rings, like my own. I have on my wrists. I decided to grab them. They seemed important somehow. They were bigger than the portal rings Knuckles used in the order for us to escape. I could sense an energy coming off of these rings. The portal ones didn't give off any energy unless they're in use. I looked back at Sonic and Knuckles, the commander still aiming his weapon at the other hedgehog Sonic had mentioned.
Well now, how did you escape?
Sonic stood his ground, furrowing his eyes. Went from green to blue in a flash. This was definitely the hedgehog I heard in the legends from back from where I came from.